Okay, so get this. The U.S. government is going after Google again.
Yeah, again.
It's like, okay, we get it. They're big, they're powerful. But this time it feels different, you know? This time it's about how we see the internet, how we experience it every single day. We're diving into the world of online advertising. That seems to know what you want before you do, and how Google's role in all of that might be breaking the rules.
It's interesting, because this isn't just a slap on the wrist. This is a big deal. We're talking the fifth antitrust lawsuit against Google since 2020. In this case, it went from like zero to trial crazy fast, wrapped up in just 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. It's almost unheard of in the legal world.
Yeah.
And to make things even more intense, the DOJ, they went for a jury trial,
Which is like,
which almost never happens in these types of cases. So clearly they mean business.
okay, so the DOJ is coming in hot. But before we break down the legal drama, we need to understand what we're dealing with. We're talking about Google's advertising empire. They're like the puppet masters of the internet, right? Connecting all these websites that need money with companies who want to get the word out about their products.
And they control a massive amount of how that happens. We're talking a market share of around 87% for Google in this industry.
87%.
87%. Almost 9 out of every $10 spent on online ads goes through their system. And they got to this position very deliberately. They didn't just stumble into it. Remember DoubleClick,
Oh, yeah.
AdMeld? These were big power moves by Google, solidifying their position,
Yeah.
really making them the kings, the undisputed kings of ad tech.
So Google's got a firm grip on this whole online advertising game. I guess the question is, what's the DOJ's problem with that? Don't we want our tech companies to be huge, to be successful?
That's where things get interesting. See, the DOJ's case is this. Google's using their size, their dominance, to basically muscle out any competition. And they argue that hurts not just the websites that depend on this ad money, but you and me, everyday users. And get this, they've got receipts. Remember that email scandal from a few years back?
Yeah.
A Google executive literally talking about crushing their rivals.
Not exactly subtle, are they?
No, not at all.
Okay, but how? How is Google allegedly using its size to bully the competition? Give me the specifics.
Imagine you're a business and you want to advertise. Google's ad platform is like this giant billboard, right?
Huh?
And they get to decide who gets the best spots on that billboard. The DOJ claims that Google gives preferential treatment to its own products, making it much harder for competitors to even get noticed.
So it's like they're playing favorites in a game they're already winning.
Right, exactly. And it's not just about giving their own products an edge. The DOJ also argues that Google makes it really difficult to switch to a competitor. Like, imagine trying to switch banks, but way, way more complicated.
Ouch. Okay, I'm starting to see why the DOJ is concerned. But, I mean, Google's got to have a defense, right? They're not just going to take this lying down.
Oh, absolutely not. They've got a whole legal team ready to fire back. Google's argument boils down to this. People choose our products. We win because our products are better. They're more efficient, more effective. They claim none of this is because they're playing dirty or anything like that.
So what? They're just that good?
They'd like you to think so.
Yeah.
They also argue that competition is alive and well. In fact, they're even pointing to Facebook, or Meta, I guess we should say, as proof that they're not invincible.
Hold on. Facebook, Meta, as in they're worried about competition from them.
Right.
Okay, if the competition is so alive and well, how come Google controls such a massive part of the market? Like, what's the deal with that?
That is the million-dollar question. And this leads into their other big argument. Google claims that them being on top is actually good for users. That because they're so big, they can do things that smaller companies just can't. Like what? Like filtering out spam and making the internet, in their words, a better experience.
Okay, so they're saying a little bit of monopoly is the price we pay for a better online world.
That's what they'd like you to believe. It's a question that's really dividing people, from lawmakers to tech experts to probably your group chat, let's be honest.
100%. Okay, hold on. Backroom deals. Rigged auctions. This is starting to sound like a movie plot or something. What exactly are they saying Google and Facebook did?
So the Texas lawsuit, it claims that Google might have given Facebook, preferential treatment.
Preferential treatment.
Yeah, like basically they're saying that Google might have slipped Facebook a cheat sheet for those ad auctions that decide which ads you see.
Wait, so those aren't totally fair.
That's what they're alleging. And, Google and Facebook, they control a huge chunk of these auctions. It's like having a secret alliance in a bidding war, right? Not exactly a level playing field.
No, definitely not. But how does this actually affect, me, the the average person scrolling through their phone.
Okay, so think of it this way. Almost every website you go to, every app you use, they use advertising to stay afloat, right?
Mm.
So if Google and Facebook are like manipulating the entire system, that could mean higher ad prices, which, guess what, often get passed down to us, the consumers.
So that new phone I've been saving up for could be more expensive because of some secret deal.
It's possible. And it's not just about price. This could, if it's true, really stifle innovation in the whole ad tech world.
How so?
Well, imagine you're a small startup, right? You've got this awesome, new, more private, user-friendly ad platform.
Okay.
It would be really, really hard to break through if these like mega corporations are working together to, stay on top. It's like trying to open a bakery next door to a place that's giving away free cookies.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of business that way.
Exactly. A healthy market needs new ideas, fresh blood. That's kind of what's at stake here.
So we've got the DOJ swinging for the fences with these monopoly claims, and then Texas is coming in with this whole collusion thing. What happens next? Is this, like, going to court?
It is. Both cases are still playing out, actually.
Yeah.
The Texas trial, that's scheduled for March 2025.
2025?
Yeah, it's a ways away.
Wow, okay. And what are people saying? Like, what's the general reaction to all of this?
It's been really interesting to see. It's a total mixed bag. So on the one hand, you've got some lawmakers from both sides, actually, who are like cheering on the DOJ.
Interesting.
They see this as a long time coming,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like big tech finally being held accountable.
Right.
And public opinion seems to be on their side. Recent polls show that a lot of Americans, they want to see the government, put some limits on Google's power.
Okay, so some people are ready to see Google taken down a notch. Who's on the other side? Like, who's defending them?
Well, Google and their allies in Silicon Valley, obviously, they're pushing back pretty hard.
I did.
They're saying the DOJ's case is totally baseless and that breaking up Google's ad business would actually hurt users.
Hurt users how?
Well, their argument is that this whole antitrust thing could stifle innovation and lead to a worse internet for everybody. Then there are these industry groups, and I mean, some of them actually include Google as a member, who are saying this legal battle is the last thing the digital advertising industry needs, especially now, with the economy being what it is. They think all this uncertainty is just going to make things worse for everyone.
It's like everyone's picking a side. It's kind of intense, but can I be honest for a sec?
Sure.
Why should we, like the average person, really care about this? It feels very inside baseball, Like most of us don't even understand how these ad auctions actually work.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. But this isn't just about ad tech, right? It's about the entire internet, like fundamentally.
Yeah.
Remember that saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Oh, yeah.
That's truer than ever online. Your attention, your data, all those clicks, they're all being bought and sold in this massive, mostly invisible marketplace.
So I'm a product.
I mean, in a way, yeah. But it's not about being depressing. It's about being aware.
Yeah.
Right? Because the decisions made in courtrooms, in these backroom deals, they have a real impact on what you see, what you buy, even what you think about.
Okay, that's kind of scary, honestly. If the internet is basically controlled by these huge corporations, what does that even mean for the future?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
But that's also what I find so fascinating about these lawsuits,
Yeah.
Whether the DOJ wins or Google wins, the fact that this is even happening is huge.
Really?
Yeah. It means the government, they're finally taking a closer look at these companies, and that is a potential turning point.
So you're saying we could see some big changes coming?
Maybe. These lawsuits, they're happening at the same time that people are really concerned about their privacy, about misinformation, all that stuff. It could be the start of a whole new era of internet regulation, one that could completely change how we use and experience the internet.
Okay, that's huge. But realistically, what can we even do about it? I mean, we're not lawyers or senators or anything.
You're right, we're not. But that doesn't mean we're powerless. Awareness is a big part of it. The more we know about how these companies operate, the better choices we can make, right?
Like what?
Support organizations that are fighting for a more open internet. Don't underestimate the power of making your voice heard. Talk to your friends, contact your representatives, make some noise. We're not just along for the ride. We have a say in this.
I like that. Okay, so back to Google and the trial. You said people had mixed feelings about it. Is there, a clear consensus on whether the government's doing the right thing?
But, it's not so simple.
Yeah.
It's really important for us to stay neutral here, right? We've highlighted some of the different viewpoints, but we have to remember that public opinion, It's complicated. There are valid concerns on both sides of this. Some people are worried that, you know, limiting Google's power, it could actually backfire.
How so?
Well, could stifle innovation, right?
I
And some people think that, yeah, maybe Google has a lot of control, but maybe that's not such a bad thing if it means a cleaner, more efficient online experience.
Okay, so it's not so black and white.
Exactly. It's about way more than just one company or one court case. It's really a defining moment, I think, for the future of the internet, how we use it, who controls it.
So where do we go from here? Like, what are the potential outcomes of all of this?
Well, it's tough to say for sure, but let's start with the trial.
All right, so we're going down the rabbit hole of possibilities here.
Yeah, lots of different ways this could go. The most straightforward outcome, I guess, is one side wins, right? The DOJ or Google.
So, like, imagine that, the courtroom, the jury's back, everyone's on the edge of their seats. What happens if the DOJ wins? Like, really wins?
Well, if they get everything they're asking for, it could be huge. We're talking a complete overhaul of Google's ad business. Maybe forced to spin off parts of it, sell things off. Who knows? It'd send shockwaves through the tech world for sure.
Okay, but what about the opposite? What if Google walks away with a big win? Back to business as usual.
Not so fast.
Okay.
Even if Google dodges a bullet with these specific charges, this whole thing, it's a wake-up call. The public's watching now. And that kind of scrutiny, it can lead to changes, Companies often try to get ahead of these things, make adjustments behind the scenes to avoid future lawsuits.
So that's like a warning shot from the legal system.
Exactly. And then there's the middle ground, right? Maybe the judge, they meet somewhere in the middle.
That the compromise.
Yeah, maybe some limitations on what Google can do, some concessions, but nothing too drastic.
So not quite a slap on the wrist, but not a knockout punch either.
Yeah, finding that balance is tricky. You want to encourage competition, keep things fair, but not throw the whole internet into chaos.
It's a tough job being a judge. Okay, but we've got 2 trials happening here, right?
Right. Don't forget about Texas.
That whole Facebook thing is still out there.
And that case, that could get really interesting. The outcome of that one, it could have a huge ripple effect, especially when it comes to, like, how tech companies work together, how they compete. It could set some big precedents.
This is a lot, but okay, zoom out with me for a second. All this talk about Google and ads, it makes you think, right? Like, what does this mean for the future of the internet, the big picture? Are we moving towards something better, more open, or are we just going to see more of the same, a few companies calling all the shots?
Honestly, if I had a crystal ball, I'd be a very rich man.
Right.
But I could say this whole case, it's sparking a really important conversation. We're talking about the power of big tech, the role of the government, like fundamental stuff. This conversation, it's not going away anytime soon.
So Google's like the tip of the iceberg.
In a way, yeah. And the stakes are high. The decisions we make today about these companies, about the internet, they're going to affect all of us for a long, long time.
Okay, so what can we do? Like, what's our part in all this?
First things first, stay informed. Don't just read the headlines and move on. Like, really dig in, read different perspectives, try to understand the nuances.
That's harder than it sounds these days, right?
It is, yeah. But you've got to be a critical thinker. Don't take everything at face value, question things, look for reliable sources, be wary of anything that feels like too sensational.
Be your own BS detector.
Exactly. And it's not just about absorbing information, it's about engaging with it, right? Talk to people, share your thoughts, get involved.
Don't just be a passive scroller.
Right. Because we all have a stake in the internet. This is our digital world, too.
Love it. Okay, I think we've reached peak deep dive status for today. We've gone from these tiny little ad auctions to, like, the fate of the internet.
It's been quite the ride.
Seriously, if you're as into this stuff as we are, which, I mean, how could you not be, check out the Wikipedia article we mentioned. We'll link to it in the show notes. There's even more juicy info in there.
And that's the thing, right? The more you know, the better equipped you are to navigate this whole crazy tech world.
So one last thought before we go. What if instead of seeing these tech giants as, like, these unstoppable forces, we started seeing them as, I don't know, a system that we can change? Like, our choices, our voices, they actually matter.
Now, that's a powerful thought.
Right. All right, that's it for us this week. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep on diving deep, folks.